The Hell and Loose roadmap has come out for next year. And there is some cool stuff on it, there is some stuff that worries me quite a bit, and there are some things where I get my hopes up. Let's do with the bad kind of thing first, the Canadians. And now I had to really read up on these because I'm not very familiar with the Canadian forces overall in World War II. I barely have any knowledge about them, so I had to really read up on these things. Now, I don't have a problem with, having the Canadians as a sub-faction. Cool, some new map options, stuff like that, My problem with the Canadians is, I don't know what they will bring on their own as a sub-faction. Because, do they have any unique weapons? No, it's all British weapons. Do they have any unique vehicles? Well, the Sexton SPA is Canadian, so that's already in the game, but the 8th Army gets that, so... With the first map being Juno Beach, I don't think we're gonna get any Grizzly or Ram tanks. Maybe we get those later one day when we get another map for the Canadians. Now there is of course the Balaton MK4, which is a Canadian tank, but I have to say it seems like they didn't really use those, they only sent those to the Soviets. So yeah, I'm unsure what the Canadian sub-faction is gonna make it more or less unique. The thing is, the 8th Army and the British are already feeling very similar, and now we have another sub-faction that basically feels very much the same, just a different area. I feel like people would have liked Italy more as a sub-faction, many unique weapons, rifles, the Breda MGs, unique tanks that, let's be fair, wouldn't have won against the enemies really in combat, but you would have had at least, a sub-faction that feels unique. So I can't really get hyped for the Canadians so far, till Team 17 shows their cards of what they have planned with weapons, tanks, and... Also, I'm a bit sad that we only get one map for this new sub-faction, because the other ones are all non-Canadian maps. Speaking of the good stuff, 3 new maps this year. That is quite a few compared to the 2 maps only that we had all the years before. Now, the first one is Juno Beach. You had maybe seen some leaks before of Juno Beach, and of course there's the map that some fan made, which is looking amazing. Now, I have looked at Juno Beach, and I have the feeling it could be like this. But what can we expect from Juno Beach? Now, Juno Beach, the beach is shorter than Omaha, less awful waddling at the start, I would assume. Juno Beach, partial seawalls, destroyed villas, nice amount of housing on the map, presumably, which means, we're gonna have, like Utah and Omaha experience, but with more urban combat on the side there. And the more south you go, the more it opens up. On the other hand, farmland in the south coming at some point, depending on how big the map is gonna be and what scale they do. You have the massive canal in the area with watery ditches that should cover your advances a bit. This could be a really fun map, most like a beach map, like Utah or Omaha, but a bit shorter, but also very urban-y, like St. Marie-de-Mont, similar maps like that. I am overall looking forward to seeing Juno Beach being made in this game. Second confirmed map is Lake Balaton, a map for the Eastern Front. Now this one is gonna bring us into the lovely lands of the Hungarians. Now, me and a few other Germans might have trouble knowing what Lake Balaton is, because Balaton sounds familiar, but we don't really know what that is. Es ist der Plattensee. Das war's. Es ist der Plattensee. No. So, like Balaton, Plattensee, whatever. Comes with Operation Spring Awakening, the last major German offensive in the war, Not really an area I ever remember fighting over in a video game, so that is gonna be unique. That being said, I saw that Easy Red 2 is also gonna do the Operation Spring Awakening next year, so that is a fun little thing where you can compare both maps from both developers. That's gonna be fun. But yeah, for me, this is pretty much unknown territory, Lake Balaton. Therefore, I investigated a bit, and with Lake Balaton, what we can expect, presumably, will be mud. No French countryside or farmland, beautiful stuff like that. Now this one, I assume, would be a muddy, rainy map, a bit like Purple Heart Lane, maybe, but with more paths that you can traverse on, with some roads and some dirt paths. I assume the lake will be just something on the side, mostly like on a beach map. I don't really think they're gonna commit too much to having most of the map just be water. That'd be silly. Now the thing that made me quite hopeful, because with the third map, the community gets to vote what the third map is gonna be. Ooh! Now option 1 is the Battle of Metz. Now with this, we would be in an area that is a very troubled area of Germany and France. Alsace-Lorraine, Elsass-Lothringen, the wild French-German mix that kept changing throughout history, and home, of course, to delicious Flammkuchen, aka German pizza. Oh, delicious. Metz should be an urban map that was heavily fortified with German forts, urban street fights, river crossings, nice autumn forests surrounding it time due to the season. My only worry is they say a battle for the outskirts of the city. And to me, this sounds like it could be another Montaigne situation, where we heal the city of Metz and then we fight in the French countryside, between crops and hedges and cows and all that stuff. If we vote on this, we will need more details on this map option before we vote. Because people will vote very much for an urban map, but not for another Montaigne map. Now, the other option would be Seelow Heights. Very late war, road to Berlin stuff, Germans against Soviets. This would mean lots of focus on elevation, trenches, fortifications along open fields, scattered wood parts, while still having some village grounds in the area. I think that could be a fun one. We have seen Seelow Heights in quite a few games. But again, for this one, I would say we need to know a bit more. And I think Team 17 needs to provide some context here of what this map would focus on terrain-wise, so people don't get disappointed later if they choose that map and expect sunshine everywhere and bees humming about, and then it's just, a purple heartland or something. Alright, those were some good things map-wise. And now the weird one, Remagen. Remagen is gonna get a map refresh. Now, this one feels like an odd choice because, you won't be able to fix Remagen. Remagen has its problems and it will be really hard to get those fixed. But a map refresh could also just focus on making the performance on the map better, especially on console. Many people struggle with Remagen a lot performance-wise. And I don't really know why, because a third of the map is empty water. I don't know how this map can be laggy for people. Now with Remagen, the main issue is that you have 3 choke points on the bridge, and the hard cap layout is either very fair if it's in the middle, or it's very, very unfair to one of the sides. So what can they do here as a refresh? I think they might just add some scaffolding to the bridge, like they did to Smolensk walls, maybe something like that. At least then you would have more than just 2 paths to cross that bridge, that would be at least something. If they want to do me a favor, open up that railway tunnel. I so want to fight in the railway tunnel. Doesn't need any assets in it or any real work on it. Just remove the wagons and let us fight in there. Would be lovely. But yeah, Remagen might just be something to boost performance. Don't think they'll do a drill or Smolensk river change where you can just waddle through the Rhine River. Don't think we're gonna see that. Next thing on the list, a new 50 versus 50 game mode, Conquest. And I'm a bit unsure about this one. I remember them mentioning in a Q&A event that they were cooking on a new mode where you have limited resources. So don't gain any resources with nodes and such things. You will over time lose resources, which the recycling mechanic for Rex was potentially very helpful. And we don't know if this is the mode, but it might be. I mean, with a name like Conquest, you might also have to fight over resource nodes or areas, that will give you resource income, like a little boost if you capture them. Maybe it's just a fancy title or a reference to Battlefield or something. I don't know. This one has no info really. But I also remember one thing on a Q&A. They also mentioned that they would do tickets in that limited resource mode. At least I remember that they mentioned something like that to Sam 15 back in the day, So maybe we will see the usage of a ticket system with Conquest mode, which would mean that people would ignore the tickets till there's only like 3% or so left. Same thing you see in Battlefield and in Squad 44 alike, because both games have the same issue. And I have to say, I don't really have a strong opinion on this one. Assuming that it's just a reusing of existing maps, not like Skirmish where they have to work a lot on it. I really need to see what this one is supposed to bring, what this mod contains. But since we're talking about what they are adding, there is some great news coming. We are getting new weapons. And you might be saying, Altberg, we don't need new weapons or new vehicles or things. They should wait with weapons till that stuff is fixed. That's fair, that's fair. The problem is, we say that for many years now. So at this point I think, weapons can be added at this point. Because if one thing doesn't happen, at least we get the weapons, something nice shiny. So they are gonna add new weapons for multiple factions. And it seems that weapons will be added based on comment written feedback. So depending what the community writes in the comments, that's the weapon we will get. Interesting. I really like the idea of having a ton of new weapons that handed loose. Now, before you start commenting everywhere what weapons you want, everybody has a different idea on what weapon should be added. Just remember when you post your weapon wishes that it should at least make some level of sense. You won't get the Sturmgewehr with night vision and Krummlauf and all that. You won't get that. No. You might get something else though, like a PPS 42, a Gewehr 41, the Czechoslovakian ZB26, an MP34, maybe the Springfield rifle without a scope, but normal, or with a grenade launcher, which would be a fun little rifle grenade, you know. Todd's P shotgun for the Soviets. Maybe the Soviets finally get the iconic Rox flamethrower. That would be a fun addition finally, you know. Or if you really want to go wild, why not a Beretta or a Breda MG? I wouldn't mind seeing an Italian weapon that the Afrika Corps grabs, because then maybe later we can take that gun away from them and get an Italian faction. Yay! And speaking of new, we will be getting new tanks. What tanks we will get is unknown. They didn't do the common thing there, you know, what you want community-wise. I don't think we will see new types of tanks, like a tank destroyer, like a Stuka or a Marder or something like that. I don't think we're gonna see that. But I think we're instead gonna get, you know, something that fills up the existing roster of recon, light, medium, and heavy rolls. Maybe a nice T-26, a normal Panzer III finally, you know. Heck, maybe we get an M3 Lee. Who knows? Now, they do also mention a focus on the self-propelled artillery, which I still would have liked to see mortars instead, or a towing system for artillery. But spars are here and they are gonna stay, for now at least. So it's nice seeing a continued effort at least to make them fit into it and lose a bit more. Last thing on the list is ongoing improvements, which is very vague, but also means it's open to suggestion. And if they have indeed looked into the comments and feedback, as I say, then we hopefully will see an improvement of hit registration and saber stability. Because that has been quite problematic lately, as we can see on, well, the example in the background that's playing here. But yeah, overall, I'd say I like the roadmap. There is some stuff that I'm worried about, as I mentioned before, but overall, yeah, I'm good with it, I think. Don't forget to vote for, you know, stuff, weapons and other things, presumably gameplay features below would be the best. But yeah, that's it for my side for this one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.